What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zetro's Toxic Vault. And as the revolving door and merry-go-round goes around of the Bay Area icons, I have another one with me. This guy's producer, guitar player extraordinaire. You guys probably know him best from the inception of Heathen. I'm talking about the one, the only, Mr. Doug Piercy.
How you doing? What's up? How you doing,
Good
Zach?
to have you, man. It's been a while since we hung out.
Great coming out to
Good
Dublin.
to have you down in the vault, man.
Yeah, good little vault here.
It's cool, huh?
Good
And all you
toys,
guys, remember to
good
watch
stuff.
my show on your TV because it looks so much better on the big screen. I mean, I know if you're at work and you got a sneak peeks and it's the time, watch it on your phone, but it looks so much better on TV.
Oh yeah, you got to see these toys. They're
It's kinda
awesome.
cool, huh?
Man, like check all this stuff out. This is like vintage stuff.
I tried to kind of steal the whole creature feature Bob Wilkins thing.
It's
You know what
okay,
I mean?
I get it. It looks
you know
right.
what I mean? It's like, I have Evil Knievel back there. I played with that when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
So
Check this
so
out.
so that's like the Skyrocket. Remember the Skyrocket?
It's a rocket.
Yeah, the one that he jumped Snake River Canyon with.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. It's
Oh
not a
yeah,
Harley
all my
though.
toys. All my toys. No, it's not a Harley, but I do have a Harley here. I have a Harley right there.
There it
Oh
is.
yeah, come on.
That's a nice drag bike.
Yeah, exactly. It's a speed run. So good to have you in, brother.
Yeah. So what's up?
You know what we do here is like a lot of the viewers, they like to hear the stories of the old school guys, the guys that built up the Bay Area sound and thrash metal for what it was. And I always like to have them in. And I always start I'm going to ask you right now, growing up in the Bay Area in the 70s, you grew up in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah,
All your whole life.
Third generation San Francisco guy.
Right.
Parents born and raised. Grandparents, a whole deal. And I've always been in the city. And I just, I don't know, we just got into music at an early age. My parents had the Led Zeppelin. Sorry, before that. That was later. They got the Beatles stuff going on. Remember the White Album?
So they were listening to that. Your parents were actually listening to that type of stuff.
A beautiful vinyl player, an Empire turntable. I learned how to play right away.
Wow.
And same thing with the tape player. My dad had a nice tape player.
So is that when you started playing guitar back then?
No, I didn't. I was just learning. I was fascinated by music at first. I think that's probably normal. I mean, you get into the music, and you start realizing what's creating the music, what actual instruments are doing it, and then slowly but surely I got into the guitar more, and probably because the Beatles were into it, and there was a lot of, it's a guitar band really,
Sure,
vocal band as well, but I wasn't so much interested in the vocals as much as the stringed instruments, so it solidified around that and kind of kept going.
So was it like Sabbath and Zeppelin?
That came later.
So you're talking early, late,
like
probably 68, 69, where you listen to Doors then?
Yeah, Doors. Dad had all that stuff recorded on the tape player. He had a Concertone 2-track. And I was, from early on, I learned how to deal with the tape, put it on, run the reels, get the whole thing sorted out. I was mechanically inclined from that, early age. And that's basically how it was. And Dad had all those tapes, and I would pull out the ones. Here's a good one. Okay, so there's... right away, I discovered the Pusher, right?
Oh yeah,
and that was like
that
was hilarious because it's, of course, back in those days, it was really a bad thing to say bad words. So
me too with that.
So
song.
that song was important, and that was the one my parents told me not to play, and that was the first one I played all the time. The Pusher Man.
Well, that was the thing.
God damn.
I was my father was a biker. Most of you guys know that, and so to me, that was to us. That was an anthem in the house to play the Easy Rider soundtrack. And it was on the Easy Rider soundtrack. And I remember, goddamn!
Yeah,
God
absolutely.
Damn!
And I'd run around the house saying that. My mother would say, stop that,
I said, goddamn, God! He's supposed to say it like 10 times.
Yeah, they took away the tape so I couldn't find it.
And I remember asking my dad, what's a pusher? You know what I mean? And
I
my dad
somebody
who pushed people,
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. We didn't know, and then we figured out later.
I was 5, you know what I mean? I figured
exactly.
out
It's like that's what we had.
How innocent.
That's a good one. So, and the Rolling Stones, that was a big deal too. I mean, these kind of like...
So Rock and Roll House, definitely. Jefferson Airplane?
Definitely. No, not so much that, but there was like, my dad had Kingston Trio records, and he had other interesting...
Trini Lopez?
Yeah, like acoustic rock stuff too. But for me, it was always harder stuff.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, I figured that out right away.
That's what I want to get into because I felt the same way.
I mean, truly, it was something drew me to it right away.
Now, I always, attribute who I am and what I was in metal and what I am in metal, in music by the music, but also the movies and the TV shows I was in. I mean, Creature Features came in '71.
Right.
So were you watching horror movies too, Doug? I mean,
My
you're
dad.
into the dark. You're into the heavier music now.
Yeah.
Are you into the heavier type of movies or?
Yeah, definitely. My dad. Okay, so our family had a summer cabin up at Russian River, and my dad got involved with the committee up there, and he was involved with. He ran the motion picture program, which was every Friday and Saturday night they would rent 16 millimeter films of everything you can imagine that was popular around the 70s. So, like, for example, we had I was a big sci-fi fan, so I had interest in like the space stuff and Andromeda Strain, War of the Worlds,
Godzilla stuff like that.
Godzilla stuff,
Yeah, sure.
all that stuff kind of, I mean, the Godzilla stuff, I mean, even then, it was like, we could see pretty easily, it was pretty cheesy, but it was still interesting and fun.
Didn't care, loved it.
And, I know, I mean, it's like, we look back at the stuff now, it's like, holy shit, with CGI, it's so much.
Right, but I still love it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, God, one of the films that screwed me up more than anything was The War of the Worlds. And Dad showed me that film. I must have been like 6 or so, and it screwed me up for life. I'm
Really?
still completely messed up from that film.
Most people say The Exorcist was the movie that fucked them up.
That came out later.
Yeah, well, for me, I was 9 when The Exorcist came out.
Yeah,
73.
I mean, I was already I'd taken a beating from some pretty brutal films. My dad, he had access to all the good stuff, and he'd get into trouble up at the Russian River cabin because he'd pull out some questionable R-rated stuff, and
really, give me some examples.
Let me think. What was some good examples? I mean, they could never
like biker movies back then, because I remember those were kind of violent for the late '60s. They were R-rated.
Yeah, Easy Rider. Easy Rider. He got in trouble for that one. He got in trouble for that one.
That's not a family movie at all.
That was a big conservative
kind
of atmosphere.
Drugs and there's violence through that whole movie.
He got in trouble for that. So, but whatever. I mean, to me, it was just culture. I mean, come on, you got to you have to have the good and the bad. You have to see the plus and minus from all this stuff. I mean, to become, you can't be sheltered from
create yourself.
It,
No, if you're going to be creative or an artistic, or you've got to be, you've got to be open to seeing everything. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And consuming everything. And now, when did you actually start playing music? And do you remember your first concert and that? So did you go?
Yeah.
Did you play music first, then go to your concert, or did you go to a concert first and then you started playing music? How did that work, and who was it?
Yeah, I think it already started playing. But,
You had already started playing.
yeah, but it was like all went together all at once. It was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
How old were you?
Guitar. I was 13 when I actually got the first real guitar.
Okay, and what year are we talking about? What year in the 70s?
Oh God, when was that? It was like 72 maybe.
72.
When was I
So you were born
13?
in 59, Doug?
No,
60.
no, it must have been later. I'm 61, so I'm 58. So that it would 13 would make him like 74 or something like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so 74.
So yeah, that's about right. Anyway, so yeah, and it was like a Gibson copy thing. It's called a Gibson Kalamazoo. I remember it really well. I wound up trading it in for an SG copy later. And then from that, I got my very first Strat, which was a real Strat, 1976, white hardtail. That was pretty cool. But
did you pick it up right away? Were you? I mean, some people in a year they're blazing, and then some people in a year they're still, flubbing over fucking smoke on the water. So
I don't know. I kind of think I picked it up pretty fast because I learned I was playing gigs with my bands, and I was already 15, 16. So it's 2 years.
Okay.
So I guess that explains for itself.
76.
We were actually playing out.
And was there any?
I mean, we sucked.
Was there any notable bands, or just playing cover?
No, just we would write out some of our original stuff, and then we would play cover songs, Pat Travers and things like that. Robin Trower. What else we play? Hendrix stuff, ZZ Top Rush,
anything
UFO,
lots
and lots of UFO.
Anything that was rocking in the 70s at that time, because UFO was fresh at the time you were playing it, actually,
Right. Doctor,
Right.
Rock Bottom.
Sure.
Rock Bottom, I remember playing at a lot of parties. That was fun.
Did you play the lead?
As best as I could. It's not that hard. I mean, you just have the feeling.
No, the whole lead is just you have to remember it.
You have to remember it, and you have to have the feeling.
No, that's the whole thing.
It's the same
that's
thing.
why Schenker plays so great. He's a feeler.
But the thing is a lot of it wasn't that difficult. It was just incredibly beautifully melodic, and that was kind of broke the ground for my interest in
To me, his
intense
hammer-ons
melody.
are just fucking.
Oh yeah.
That's his signature. Is his fucking hammer-ons.
It's like that's something I even to this day is crucial to have good melody, like with your soloing, and I mean that goes to crosses the bridge to like
So who
brass
was your first
instruments.
gig? We never got.
It was Quicksilver Messenger Service,
That's right.
Canned Heat, and this band called Eggs Over Easy at Winterland. And it was a big ice skating rink, and I remember it had all this glow in the dark paint all over the place.
Was
and
it
black
sold
lights.
out for this show? Because
Not really.
Not really.
Not really. It was. We all know what sold out means now, but
Yes,
back
we do.
then I was just blown away to be there because I was like,
and who took
13.
you to that concert?
Myself.
Really?
I just went on the bus.
Okay, yeah, because you lived in seven. See, for me, I grew up in Dublin, which when I'm 45 minutes away from the city, so.
No, I think BART was happening, but still, it's a hassle.
It was still a hassle. Not where gigs were happening at. You had to drive.
Yeah, well, I mean, we would take the bus down there. You take the Geary bus and get off right there, and it wasn't really a big deal. We go down to the Bass ticket outlets and buy our
Bass
tickets.
We got comments on Bass tickets.
And we would go. I mean, I got tickets to all the Robin Trower shows.
Fucking to this day.
Jesus Christ! I saw Queen the very first
right,
tour.
really?
I'll never forget. Freddie Mercury was prancing around the stage with that microphone, that Chuck Billy microphone.
The Chuck Billy microphone, mind you.
Well, Chuck came along and you realized, hey, that's pretty
the
cool.
Chuck Billy microphone.
But Chuck does the same thing. It's
got it handed down, I guess so. Charlie.
But Freddie was godlike back then too. I mean, it was incredible.
Freddie was the ultimate front man. Nobody
I'm
better.
telling you,
for all of us that are front men in the business, go watch video. If you need to go watch film like a fucking athlete, go watch him. He's the man to go. What was your first band, Doug, where you started gigging out in actual clubs and you were together with serious musicians?
That would be Amble Chorus.
That would be. And what year was that?
That would be 1980 about.
And did you put that together with Thane Rasmussen?
Yeah,
you and
I was
Thane's?
already playing with Thane. Thane had a band called Viking, and it was just kind of, he was trying to get it together and write songs and so on. And they needed a second guitar player, and this other situation I was in was not so incredibly great or whatever. We're just kids. We're always jamming with people, and so I went down and started playing with Thane's thing, and at some point we changed the name to Amble Chorus.
What was it before? It was Viking.
It was Viking. It was just a little, name. You got to have a name when you're playing out anywhere.
My first band was Metal Warrior.
There we go.
So yes.
Metal. We got to do a tour.
Yeah,
Viking Metal Warrior
Viking,
tour.
Yeah.
But and I still have the banner at home, which is hilarious.
Nice.
It's hilarious. I stapled it up underneath the stairs.
Oh
at
yeah,
my dad's
that's
house
great.
with a staple gun.
That's good. That's amazing.
It's pretty funny.
You guys got kind of popular for a club band. I remember hearing when coming up as a 15, 16-year-old, there was always the bigger bands that played in the big clubs in the arenas. But I always heard Anvil Chorus. I saw the flyers and stuff. You guys did quite well.
Yeah, I mean, we did what we could do. We were forging forward with what we understood to be, heavy rock and progressive influence stuff. I mean, we were all very heavily influenced by progressive bands like the European progressive bands like Bill Bruford, Yes, Genesis.
Alex Harvey.
A little bit of that. Aaron definitely was.
Uh-huh.
Aaron and his brothers were avid collectors of vinyl, and they had all sorts of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It was Aaron who turned me on to the very first metal for Mothers that came out later. But even before that, we were listening to all the old Scorpions. He turned me on to the Scorpion stuff. Aaron's whole family was very, like I said, they had all the old import Scorpions records. So I learned about Uli back then. We weren't, we were in the middle of high school back then. But there was a lot of. I mean, but a lot of the progressive stuff too. So that's came in. That's
what, like Rush, stuff like
Rush,
that.
definitely.
A lot of Rush.
Yes, Rush. Personally,
Emerson, Lake Palmer, that was
not
very,
so much Emerson, Lake and Palmer
because it was progressive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
they had to have guitars.
Yeah,
so like
exactly.
Al Di Meola.
Yeah, right.
Alan Holdsworth.
Had to be
that sort of thing. So and that kind of like put. So then we had the harder side too. So we kind of mixed the whole thing up, and it became the Amble Chorus sound, which was we borrowed from there was another band called Leviathan that was Aaron's band. Aaron and Bill were in this band called Leviathan, and then Thane and that band broke up, and then we got together with them, and they had a lot of songs, and Thane and I had some songs. we put all of our songs together, and suddenly we could play shows.
Really?
Yeah, and then and the Metal Monday thing started right about the same time, and so
Yeah, I loved Metal Mondays.
Yeah, it was
so
fun.
Cool.
It was great.
Queenie was great. She Queenie Taylor.
Oh
remember?
yeah, that's when I met. Tony
That's where I met Tony Isabella. Right. That's how
Yeah.
I met Tony. Back in the
So,
day, she was
but-
eventually Exodus's manager for all of those.
Yeah,
which I've got to have her on the show.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's a lot of fun. I saw her
How long
recently.
did you stay with Anvil Chorus? Because I know you were played in Control, another band called Control. Did you play simultaneously in both of those bands?
No.
Or?
No, Anvil Chorus, kind of, the problem with Anvil Chorus was that each member had too strong of a background in a different kind of music. We weren't really gelling. It was great for a while because we could get together and play all the songs, and as the songs were new, it was a lot of fun. We all put our own 2 cents into them and made some really interesting, excellent demos, and I learned how to record demos by recording Anvil Chorus, which
Yes, because we'll get to that.
But then we did the little single, the Blondes in Black single. But again, coming back to all that, we were kind of confused as what we really wanted to do musically. Everybody wanted to do something else, and that's kind of what led to the breakup. I wanted to do more harder, heavier stuff, and other guys in the band wanted to do a little bit more like Spandau Ballet stuff. And then there was direction, like Jerry, she does her church choir things on Sundays. She would go play at the church and had all this background stuff, but she went into this goth direction and did Specimen for a while. But so this kind of led to the band sort of disbanding, And at that point, I jumped into Control.
Okay, and you didn't. What year was that? About
1983, 84. I think it was 84.
84, and it was already put together. You just jumped in, right? You didn't form Control, did you?
No, I did not. Control existed. It was a San Francisco-based band, very punk rock. The singer, Ed Bull, this is a guy I went to high school with. He's totally crazy, insane, and a great front man, great kind of hardcore front man. His influences were pure hardcore and punk. He loved Jello Biafra and Waddy and all the good, proper, punk rock, new wave frontmen. And his style, his delivery was ruthless. It was outrageous. But it was very punk, and I brought all this metal to it because I could finally really unleash and use all the stacks and just put up more Marshalls and just kind of really start shredding and
But
thrashing.
then again, Doug, not knowing, these are pieces of thrash metal you're putting together without knowing it. You know what I mean? It's with the vocals the way they are, and in that
That's
vein.
true.
And the guitars being so heavy, even though the mentality was not metal, it's kind of how we put thrash metal together. It's the ferocity of punk music and the rock.
The thing is right in the middle of the Anvil Chorus thing, Metallica came up from the LA area, and everybody already had the demo because of Ron. Because Ron was already playing all the stuff on KOSF.
Yeah.
And I was pretty amazed by their demo. I thought, wow, this is really cool. This is really heavy, hard stuff, fast. This is kind of what I'd rather do.
Right.
I don't want to slow down and play a lot more keyboard melodies and all this. And I'd kind of like to cut loose and go completely nuts. And so when the Control thing happened, I was already, very influenced by, the heaviness that Metallica brought. And then at the same time, I started doing live sound for Exodus. And we recorded the Turk Street demo right around that same time too, with all the gear in the Anvil Chorus studio. They came down and all the gear was already set up, so it was easy just to have them all come in.
The Bonded by Blood record release party was Control, Megadeth, Exodus.
Right.
I was there. I remember that. In fact, some of we played with Control with Legacy at Ruthie's Inn.
Yeah,
I
remember all that. That's true. Alex had the White Star guitar.
That's right. Alexis was, working with us. You said
that's true. Alexis got me involved with doing the Legacy stuff.
Yeah.
He was, and later also with the Mordred thing.
Now, let me ask you a question. When you did the Legacy demo, this is the guy who produced the Legacy demo, the 4-song demo one back in the day that we did at Prairie Song. He did it. But my question was, how many bands had you done demos before other than say Control or Anvil Chorus? Were you doing other demos before that, Doug?
There were some bands down at the Turk Street Studios that they were saying things like, "Whoa, that's cool! You have all this recording equipment. Can you record us?" So like, I'd find myself like tearing down all the reel-to-reel, all the, the 4-track equipment and all the mixing crap and all the cables and stuff, and just drag it across the hall to the next room. And I would record a bunch of other, avant-garde crazy bands that were like punk oriented and kind of half, they weren't really, I was just looking for experience.
Right.
But it didn't really they didn't really turn out to be a bunch of anything. It was just more like,
Now, were you playing in Heathen yet? When you did the Legacy demo, you hadn't started Heathen yet,
No.
right? No. You were still in Control when you did the Legacy demo, because that was like July of '85. Remember we went up to Prairie Sun?
Right. Yeah. I was still doing Control. We were like gigging and playing out around the Bay Area, and we did a bunch of Control demos too. They had like their earlier versions with their more punk rock style guitar players, but then when I got involved, I said, "Fuck this! We got to make a new demo, and we're gonna do a Doug Piercy style, complete full production kind of thing."
Because I mean, Alexis totally was like, "We've got to use Doug Piercy on this. Doug Piercy's the man." So it's cool. So instead of you having your gear set up, we said, "Fuck it, let's go up to Prairie Sun where everybody's recording records." Because at that time, people were doing these cool 8 and maybe even 16-track demos. We figured if we're going to get signed, let's go do a 72-track demo in a real studio. So we spent, I don't know, I think this is 1985, about $1,800, which is a lot of money.
Yeah, it was
for
kind of a
3
big
days.
deal.
It was expensive for us.
And
remember we went in and we tracked. You tracked 24/7. I mean, I remember we'd be sleeping in the little house there, and then Alex would come in and go, "Okay, I'm done. Zet, it's your turn to go in there," or "Craigie, it's your turn to go in there." And it was just one of those things where Eric was in there the whole time with you, because he basically wrote most of the music, and I wrote most of all the lyrics. So it was just talk about that. Talk about going into that demo, because for you, that was the first time going into a big studio like that, right?
I'd been in big studios before. We did the Amble Chorus. We did that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we did that. That was at a 24-track place in Sausalito called
That's
Harbor
why you were
Sound.
so fucking familiar.
And then we, there's like other 8-track studios and this and that, all tape studios, And so by the time, and I'd been in Prairie Sun before, and I knew Muka. And but here's the big difference. It was interesting. We went in there, with you guys, and I'd already done some live sound, so I kind of knew what you guys wanted to go for. I knew what the sound was. And then what was for me so easy is that there was an engineer there that set everything all up, and it already sounded pretty damn killer when we got it all set up.
Yeah.
So I mean, how much production did I actually do? Well, I turned some knobs.
No, I think
I made some shots. Called some shots.
You got a rhythm tone, didn't you? Get the rhythm
yeah, we
tone?
did some of that. We worked on some tones.
You worked on mic placement with everybody. You got drum tone for Mike Ronchetti.
That's true, and
you got drum tones because Muka wasn't all into. I mean, they had always done hair metal bands up there. Remember? Shrapnel,
yeah, they're doing the shrapnel stuff.
Varney had every fucking one of his guitar heroes in his little hair metal bands that he had were up there. So
wizards.
This is the first time, not the first time Exodus recorded up there. So he knew kind of what was going on, but we took you in knowing, we want these tones, Doug.
Yeah,
knows
I mean,
what to get.
to me, the whole philosophy that I used to use then and what I still use today is to try to look at the pros and cons of each band and try to work with the unique pros and try to make it so that those pros can shine. Rather, a lot of other producers would anybody, a lot of these guys will come in and try to change the sound of the band. And it's not really okay. It's like, if Zet's going to go and use this kind of vocal tone that, has its influences from Bon Scott or whatever, but he's going to be singing on the notes and have the timing really excellent, then we're going to work with that. And we're going to see if we can double it. Because Zet doesn't know how to double.
Well, I never did it before. We did, though.
So that's my point. So I saw that, whoa, he can do this.